One thing I did want to talk to you guys about is Apple News, because I think Apple News is pretty important. I mean, a lot of people argue that Apple makes bad products. I love Apple products. I have an iPhone, I have a MacBook Pro, there's an iMac sitting right on the other desk over there. And I know that a lot of people, I mean, the iPhone 4 right now is the most popular smartphone, if not the most popular cell phone in the entire world. And a lot of people have iPhones, a lot of people have iPods. That's just something that a lot of people would like to hear about. So I'm really sorry if you don't like Apple stuff, but when there's big Apple announcements, I'll probably be covering them. First of all, Apple announced iOS 5, which has created about 200 new features for Apple products, such as the iPad, the iPhone, and the iPod Touch. And these new features are really, really cool. Some of the big features include Notification Center, which is going to be really cool because it basically groups together all your notifications across all your apps in one spot, which is easy to get to by just swiping downward from the top of the screen to the bottom on either your iPad, your iPod Touch, or your iPhone. This is really useful because it makes everything easy to get to, and a plus is from the home screen, or the lock screen I should say, your notifications will be individually listed, so you can just swipe and go immediately to that specific app. Also, if you like playing games on your phone or iPod or whatever it is, I know it's really annoying to get that blue pop-up that pauses everything, but now instead you'll just have a little bar that turns at the very top of your screen and will not interrupt anything you are doing. So that's a pretty cool new feature. It's probably going to be pretty useful. Something that a lot of people will argue is just useless. I think it's pretty cool though. Also, Apple released iMessage, which is essentially like a instant messaging app that's released strictly between Apple product or Apple devices. Like if you're talking on an iPhone 4 and you're talking to someone who's on an iPod Touch, you will be able to actually send these messages across to each other free without having a data plan through AT&T or Verizon, and you have unlimited messaging. So that is probably something that won't be as useful because a lot of people just text anyway and they have other texting apps. That's something that'll probably be there and it'll be pretty useful if you don't want to buy these other texting apps. Another cool feature that Apple released is Twitter integration into all their devices, which is really nice because if you're on Twitter like I am, and if you're on Twitter you can actually find me at Fozzie1310, that's F-O-Z-I-E 1310. I like to talk about movies on there. I mean, Twitter's a great program all around. I mean, it's a lot more resourceful than Facebook, I think. You can find a lot more news. And now you can basically go on your photo albums, on Safari, on Maps, and Twitter will be right there on that little bottom left-hand corner. You just click, and it'll be throw up a comment on there, and it'll be uploaded to Twitter right from there. So that's something that'll be pretty useful for Twitter fans like me. Apple has also included new photo editing techniques right into the iOS devices, such as you can crop, you can rotate pictures now. You can even, I know on the iPhone 4S, you can color correct and remove red eye, but that we'll talk about later. And the final thing that they've added is camera enhance, which is really cool because now you can access the camera right from the lock screen, which if something's happening right at the spur of the moment and you need to get a picture of it, you can just double tap that home button, click right on the camera thing, it'll pop up, and now you can actually take photos if you're on sideways like picture. You can just press the volume up button and that'll take a picture there right for you. You can also pinch to zoom now and tap to focus, and it also includes grids on the photo to follow the rule of thirds. If you're a camera person, you know that's pretty important when you're doing photography. So that's basically the new features that will be included on iOS 5. The iPhone 4S was also announced last week, and it includes a lot of cool features that I think really distinguish it from the iPhone 4. And I know a lot of people, probably most of you, will argue that it is virtually the same phone, and really it isn't. I mean, I watched an hour-and-a-half long keynote, and I'm convinced that it is essentially a whole new phone in the same chassis. The first cool feature is Siri, which is essentially a first step towards achieving a Jarvis from Iron Man. I mean, I could ask it, well, I need a raincoat today, and it'll say, no, it looks like it's going to be sunny, and it'll give me a forecast, or say, yes, it looks like it's going to rain today, and it'll pop up a forecast. So I can ask it about the stock market, I can tell it to make an appointment for me, I can tell it to play an individual song, which is something new that you couldn't do before. So Siri is a really cool looking thing. I think it's really putting the iPhone 4S a step above all other phones out there. I know that they have dictation apps and things like that, but this is just blowing out of the water. as you can use it. You can basically tell Siri to type anything you want, any place there's a keyboard, but it'll also be able to interact with a lot of the other apps by like setting up appointments and reminders and things like that. The iPhone 4S also now has an iPad 2 A5 dual-core processor, which allows it to have twice the processing speed of the iPhone 4 and up to 7 times better graphics than the iPhone 4. And the graphics part is really important, as the App Store for Apple has become one of the most popular places to buy games in general, and it allows for these games to step it up a lot in the quality of their games and things like that. For example, in the keynote, if you watched it, Epic Games has a presentation on Infinity Blade 2, and there's a lot of, although the game looks similar in general appearance, there's a lot of little details that have been added which is able to be because of this A5 processor. If you didn't watch the keynote, I'll put it in the description below. It's pretty cool. I watched the whole thing. It's like an hour and a half long, but you can kind of skip forward. They talk about all the new features of the iPad or the iPhone 4S and iOS 5, and they do a lot of demos. So that's really cool to watch if you're into that kind of stuff. The iPhone 4S is also now have an 8 megapixel camera with advanced optics and a larger aperture, so it allows more light in, which allows for really, really deep, colorful pictures, which looks really nice. Especially because the iPhone, which also is in the keynote, it's like on sites like Flickr, it's actually the #1 camera that is pictures are uploaded from onto that website. So the iPhone camera is becoming something that has been so widely used around the world. It's because so many people have iPhones that they needed to really improve the camera quality, which they really did in the iPhone 4S. Another cool thing is that the iPhone 4S can now capture video in full 1080p, which is really nice because it'll take beautiful quality video now. And it also has new feature where it'll stabilize the camera shake, so that way it's not so shaky. I know because the smaller the camera gets that you're holding, the more shake there is to it. So that'll keep the video from being so shaky, and it'll also produce a much higher quality video than most other phones available. And iCloud is also being integrated into the new iPhone 4S, which has been released already. It's already in other devices as well, but it basically allows you to take any like file that you download onto your phone, and it stores it up into the cloud, which is, say, if you download a song on your phone, it'll store it up in the cloud. You can hop on your MacBook, you can hop on iTunes anywhere actually, it doesn't just have to be on your MacBook, and you can access iTunes and download it right there. Same thing with photos now. If you take a photo on your phone, it'll go right up to the cloud and it'll instantly download, it'll be instantly pushed into your MacBook or your iMac or whatever program you have with iPhoto on it, which is actually a really cool new feature because it basically eliminates the need for syncing, which oftentimes creates a huge problem. And I don't, like, for example, I don't like to sync, it kind of bothers me. So this will be really useful to keep me from having to sync it with my computer to back up my phone. Of course, the iPhone 4S will include iOS 5 and all the features I mentioned before. So I just am not convinced that it's the same phone. It really seems like a totally new piece of equipment just in the same body. And I think if you watch the keynote and you watch all the videos and you see how everything is working together, it is really creating an entirely new phone that's kind of putting the iPhone again a step above all the other phones on the market. And if you haven't heard, Steve Jobs did pass away last week, which is very sad, especially for all the Apple fans. I know that there were a lot of celebrities and a lot of my friends and even myself were very sad by this. Steve Jobs was a great man. He produced some great products and he really revolutionized technology for our generation. He was essentially the Thomas Edison of our time, and my condolences go out to his friends and family. And he was a really great man. He should be remembered just as that. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you want to keep seeing more update videos like this. Alright, thanks for watching.